right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to...
Hold it, Bob, hold on.
Oh, you're live.
You're live now, go ahead.
Okay, I thought that new pre-recorded notice was our cue to go. Welcome to the Thursday, February 10th, 2022, 6 o'clock p.m. Meeting of the Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Robert Tatro. I am the chairman for the meeting. The others who may be located at the Auburn Town Hall, 104 Central Street, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, and you're going to hear this several times this evening. They will be practicing appropriate PPE and distancing as required. If you are just tuning in, you can join us by phone at 1-646-749-3112 and dialing in the access code 944-571-349, or you can go onto your computer or other mobile device. Go to gotomeeting.com. If in the upper right corner there's a join button, you press in, punch in 944-571-349. Okay, so with that being said, I have to read through this real quick. Please bear with me again. You've heard most of this already, so I'm going to ask that you all please mute your phones at this time and only unmute if you're going to speak. Also, if is anybody with stuff on in the background at their respective locations, if you can make sure those things in your background are kind of quieted or at least somewhat controllable so we can not have too many interruptions on that end. Okay, so anyway, we're going to make sure that the members are present, or who is going to be present this evening, and we'll start from there. So, Vice Chair Maron, are you present? Present. I have been notified by Vice Chair Maron that Mr. Chicola will not be with us this evening. Mr. Cussy, are you present?
Present.
Go again, Rich, sorry.
Yep, present.
Thank you. Ms. Roach, I don't believe Ms. Roach will be joining us this evening, but I'm going to check just in case. Okay, so Ms. Roach, again, is not joining us this evening. Mr. Jones, are you present, sir? Hello, Mr. Jones, are you present, sir? All right, we're waiting here on that. And Ms. Bush, are you present?
Ms. Bush is not going to be in attendance tonight.
Okay, we don't have Mr. Jones then, right?
Let me try and unmute these callers and see if... Bear with me, Bob.
Yeah, not a problem. So while Caleb is investigating that situation right now, let me go on and move on to identifying the town side employees that may be present. We obviously know that Caleb Moody is present as he's been actively involved in the meeting. Is Ginger Buto present, please?
Here.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And we also have a new arrival this evening. I'd like to welcome Mr. Keith Heselton. Keith, are you here?
Present.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Welcome aboard. Enjoy the ride. I think we tend to be somewhat interesting, and hopefully we don't, bore you too much. So anyway, again, we'll thank you, Caleb. Yes, sir?
Yeah, you can go ahead and try roll call again to see if we have a quorum.
Okay, that's what I was trying to find out. I was moving forward until we could do that. So obviously it's myself, Vice Chair Maron, you're present, sir?
Correct, present.
Mr. Cussy, you're present, sir?
Present.
Okay, Ms. Roach, we know is not. Mr. Jones, are you present, sir? No, okay, and we know that Ms. Bush is not present. So we only have 3 of us. So I really can't move forward right now.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to take a quick recess, and do you want to try contacting any of the members?
So I know, I can tell you pretty much comfortable in saying that the members that are not here for good reason. So, it's just one of those situations where if we're going to have to decide that if we can't reach out and have a reasonable amount of contact with them in the next 5 to 7 minutes, we're going to have to follow the correct procedures to reschedule. So I honestly think, I mean, do you have a phone number for Mr. Jones?
I can try calling Mr. Jones, yeah, if you want to take a quick 5-minute recess.
Okay, so great, we can do that. We haven't really officially called the meeting to order yet, to begin, so to speak. So, and we have not had any actions of any consequence. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to go into a 5-minute recess, and the recess will be called back by Caleb, just for the record, because when he's complete and has his information, he can get us back in gear. So that's how I'm going to defer it. Go ahead. Okay, so I want to get back to where we are now that we have Mr. Jones here. Officially, for the record, I'm going to be bringing Mr. Jones up as a full voting member to ensure that we have a quorum. And then if we do happen to get joined by Mr. Chicolo, we'll add him to the mix and we'll reshuffle the deck accordingly and determine who is voting for what particular hearing at the time. So with that being said, let me flip over to my the rest of my speech here. I'll get through as quickly as I possibly can. Okay, so we have identified that Mr. Jones will be with us this evening. We're waiting on Mr. Chicolo. If that happens, the town officials, we've already introduced ourselves. So let's go over quickly the introduction of the hybrid meeting. So good evening again. The open meeting for the Town of Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals is Thursday, February 10th, 2022, is now officially called to order. Delayed, unfortunately, but at 6 p.m. This meeting is to be conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, and extended on June 16th, 2021. For this meeting, the Zoning Board of Appeals is convening either in person or by remote participation for the public. For the public to join, again, call 1-646-749-3112 and enter access code 944-571-349, or you can join by computer by going to the website, gotomeeting.com, and then join at the right corner at 944-571-349. Remote access information has also been posted on the town's website. Please note that meetings are being recorded by the Town of Auburn Cable Television. Accordingly, those members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, employees, members of the public participate. Please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials, all supporting materials have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Meeting business ground rules. I'm going to go forward here. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules. So we have clear and effective minutes. I, Robert Tatro, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please speak until the chair yields the floor to you. If members wish to engage in the discussion with members, please do so through the chair. Take care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, they will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes to any comments. Finally, each vote taken will be conducted by a roll call vote. If we have any technical difficulties, the chair will suspend the meeting while attempts to resolve are made. Keep accurate minutes noting any disconnections and reconnections of the members. Okay. Yes, sir.
Chicolo is in.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay. So that's actually perfect timing. So I just want to be clear that we have the full voting members of myself, Vice Chairman Michael Marin, Richard Cussy, Lawrence Chicolo, and Peter Jones. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members. So as it stands right now, we have the correct numbers of members present to have a full standard quorum. So I just want to be clear with the public and everyone else involved. All the members here this evening will be voting. They will all have opportunities to comment and listen to abutters and whatnot, and we'll each cast a vote by roll call. So with that being said, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to open the portion of the public hearing for the first hearing.
Do I have a, thank you, Mr. Chicolo. Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
Open. Open.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, how do you vote?
Did I just push this button?
Open. Thank you, and I vote to open. So at 6 o'clock p.m., applicant Kevin M. Mayo requesting a special permit under section 8.3.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a non-conforming structure on property located at 6 Gale Street, Gale Ave, Auburn, map 16, parcel 80. Is the applicant present? Hello, sir, is the applicant present? Looking for Kevin Mayo.
He was. This is Kevin Osborne. I'm the owner of the home, but I believe Kevin was on the call.
Okay, so are you prepared to give a presentation, or do you want us to try to wait for Mr. Mayo?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. But yes, I will happily.
That's okay. Listen,
Hold on. 2 seconds. Sorry. He says I can hear it, but he can't. We may have to unmute him. He's one of the callers.
Could be, it's either muted on his side or our side. So if we could have the AV people, I'm pretty confident in you guys, but if you could just check to see if he's muted on town side, or he could be possibly double muted, depending on how he's running it at home. He might have a window that's minimized or something like that he can open up and then.
He says it's your side. He's unmuted on his phone.
Okay.
Bob,
You need caller 1 or caller 2 there.
Okay. So, obviously, folks, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. So, I don't want to cause any unnecessary delay, and obviously, we've had a substantial amount of.
Bob, can I,
Please.
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I jump in for a minute?
Yeah.
If his audio is not working, simply have him hang up and call back in.
Okay.
That's probably the quickest solution.
Yeah, if Mr. Mayo, if you can hang up and call back in.
No, not Mr. Chicolo, it's the applicant.
Right, Mr. Mayo, that's what I said.
Sorry.
It's okay, we're all, we'll work through it. Everyone, please have some patience.
It's 2022.
Unmute all. Should be able to unmute all.
So if you're one of the other 2 applicants that are waiting, obviously it would behoove all of us, if you have any other people that might be joining this evening or require a backup method of communication to ensure that all of your people are present, I'd appreciate if you could start maybe looking into that now. So I'm not blaming anyone. It is what it is. We've gone through this before, but if you could have sort of all your players on deck and ready to go, that would be very helpful too.
Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Hi, Kevin Mayo.
Hello, Kevin Mayo. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. Okay, so just to be clear, we're going to read this again. So what we're talking about now is we just opened the 6 o'clock p.m. applicant Kevin M. Mayo requesting a special permit under section 8.3.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a non-conforming structure on property located at 6 Gale Ave, Auburn, Mass, map 16, parcel 80. We know that the applicant is present. So, sir, I'm going to go ahead and yield the floor to you if you would like to go over your application and answer any questions the board may have.
Certainly, thank you. The application is to build a front porch to the existing residence at 6 Gale Ave for the homeowners.
Okay.
Fall within the existing zoning setbacks right now.
So how much of the setback are you looking to encroach upon, if you will?
Initially, we have plans for 8 feet.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead then, rather than stepping on anyone's toes, if that's your presentation, if you want to just go over it and answer the questions that the, members may have. Vice Chair Maron, I'm gonna yield the floor to you, sir, if you want to ask the applicant any particular questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I proceed to the applicant, I'd like to bring the building commissioner in for a topic. So, the property, it's noted as a non-conforming structure, correct?
Through the chair, so what we have is an existing non-conforming structure. Currently, it is 24.8 feet, I think, from the front setback. The requirement's 30. The proposed porch would bring it to 18.
You heard him say the father is not going to be on the agenda. You heard him say that.
Oh,
We have to get in the He's not talking. Oh. You can hear me?
hello, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
So as I was saying, Mr. Chairman, the proposal is for 18.6 feet from the front setback. The requirement is 30. Existing is 24.8.
Okay, so Caleb, why was pre-existing not conforming?
The existing is 24.8. The requirement is 30.
Okay, so it's non-conforming because it never met the 30, correct?
It doesn't meet the setback today. At some point, my guess would be the setback was changed. Or possibly it never met. I didn't do enough research to look back yet.
Okay, no, fair enough. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, I'm sorry, did you have another comment, Mr. Commissioner?
No, I just said you're welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. And so, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm going to proceed to the applicant with just a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
So, looking at the design, I'm seeing the proposed porch, 8 by 30. What I'd like to know is the structure of that porch. Are we talking about a roof porch, or is it going to be exposed with just a deck and stairs? Covered porch. It's a covered porch. Do we have design plans for what that covered porch is going to look like?
I submitted them with the building permit, but not with the Board of Appeals. But there are drawings.
Okay. Caleb, do we have those plans?
I'm sure they were, if he said they were submitted with the building permit, I don't think we have them available tonight. They weren't submitted with the zoning application.
Okay. So thank you, sir. So to the applicant, the expectation is to put a covered porch, 8 feet in depth from the existing line. So the stairs that are there now, you're going to remove those?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to reserve any additional questions at this time and see if there are any abutters. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I see that we have another caller there. Do you want caller 6? Can you identify yourself, please? Or at least if you,
Mr. Chairman,
all right, we're going to move on. Mr. Chicolo, I yield the floor to you, sir. Do you have any questions or concerns of the applicant?
Yes, and initially I'd like to ask our building commissioner a question. Caleb, because it is already non-conforming, and because we're now looking for more than, actually less than the 20-foot currently required, would this require more than a special permit?
through the chair, the front setback requirement in the Residence B district is 30 feet. The zoning law allows the Zoning Board of Appeals to approve a change to an existing non-conforming structure if the zoning board finds that the change is no more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing nonconformity. Does that answer your question?
Okay, I just wondered if we had to go further into it than a special permit. But from what you've just said, a special permit will take care of it, I believe.
Yes, if the zoning board finds that the proposed change is no more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming, it's only a special permit.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, no questions of the applicant at this time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, please.
I have no questions right now, thank you.
Mr. Jones, to you, sir? I have none, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I have a couple of questions, if I could please. I think okay. So, just to say, we have somebody who's got a lot of who's got the disturbance in the background. If you kind of feel that up for us before we move forward.
So again, we need anybody that's not speaking to mute their phone. Thank you.
Okay, folks, now that we have you all muted and we have sort of everyone's attention for a second here before we move forward, as you can see, this can be challenging. We really need people to kind of settle down, focus on what we're working on this year, and be present with us during this meeting, and try to work on background noise and try to work on having your mute button in the right sequence. It's really important to be able to move forward and we don't have a lot of background. Okay, anyway, so to the applicant, do you know the footage of the one-story wood frame house on the property right now? So it looks like a one-car garage, and I'm assuming that's a standard, 8-foot garage door, right? And then what is the square footage of the house that we're talking about? And you don't have to be exact. I'm not looking for exact. Is it a 200 square foot ranch?
Yeah.
1,100 square feet?
Kevin, I don't know if you. Yeah, it's around 1,200 square feet, I believe. This is the owner.
So it's basically like one of the other common ranches in town, correct?
Correct.
Right. So
correct. They're actually on that street, they're. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Do they have T-beam construction?
Sorry?
Does it have T-beam construction? Is there a steel beam in the shape of a T running through the bottom of the house?
There's a steel
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
So there is a T-beam in the house, correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay. The reason I'm asking that is because I have one of those ranches myself, and usually those are built by the Pappas family. So I can picture in my mind, based on what I'm looking at here, I'm very familiar with this construction design, and it stood the test of time in town. So with that being said, I can kind of envision what you're thinking of based on the size of the house and its sort of proximity to the street. So that's why I asked. It's not being critical of what size porch you want to put on based on that. I'm just trying to get in my head and let the other members of the board know what this house should look like. Okay, so with that being said, we're remaining with an 18.6 foot setback if it were agreed upon. 18.6 and 18.7, is that correct? So are we all in agreement with that as well? That's again to the applicant.
Correct.
Okay, so we have 18.6, 18.7. So that's the difference on that size. Okay. I don't have any other further questions, but do we have any abutters present that would like to speak on this matter? All right, so I did first call for abutters. I'll do a second call.
I'm a butter. I'm next door. This is Mary McGrail.
One second, please. Okay, Mary, thank you for joining us. If you could go ahead and just give us your name, your address for the record now that you can speak yourself, and go ahead.
Sure.
You have to do so through the chair, please. So if you could direct any of your questions, concerns to me, I'll kind of point them back in the right direction for you.
Okay. I'm Mary McGrail. I'm at 4 Gale Ave, right next door. I have no issues with the proposed porch. I look forward to being able to sit on it while our kids are playing out together. So I just want to show my support for this project.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. So are there any other houses with porches on your street?
I do not believe so.
Okay. I'm just curious. But okay, so I appreciate your time then. Thank you so much. All right, do I have any other abutters present? Okay, second call for any other abutters. All right, last call for abutters. Hearing none, seeing none. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, back to you, Vice Chair Barron. You've heard all the information. Do you have any more questions or concerns from the applicant?
I don't have any additional questions, Mr. Chairman. I'd take maybe some comments into a closed session when the public hearing is closed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo, sir.
I'm fine, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cussy, you, sir?
No questions. I'm good, Bob.
And Mr. Jones, to you, sir.
I just want to comment on the submission. I think it's great that we read the law and we're able to put together a coherent submission based on the reading.
I'm sorry, I had a little dog barking back there. Could you just go ahead and just give me that one more time clearly, please?
Sure, it's clear that they read the law in advance of doing their filing, and it's appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Do I don't have anything else. The applicant doesn't appear to want to add anything else. So do I have a motion to close the public portion of the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Do I have a
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chicolo. Mr. Vice Chair, how do you vote?
I approve.
Mr. Chicolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote? Approve. And I vote to approve. The public portion of the hearing is now closed. I yield the floor to you, Vice Chair Marin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before a motion is made, just in consideration of this applicant for the other board members, my thoughts are this. I did view the property in the neighborhood. I'm not particularly comfortable with the distance to the road and then closing that distance with an additional structure. But having said that, I don't see any detriment to the neighborhood. In this, as a matter of fact, several of the houses, if not all of them, in that area, all have the same close proximity to the road. And so, you know, my being not comfortable with it, it's just the topography of that road, that area. And so, so that being said, I quite frankly don't really have a problem with the applicant and what he's proposing.
Interesting. Okay, I appreciate that. And the reason I say interesting is we can discuss that later, but I think that this might be an opportunity for our subcommittee to look at getting an increase in porch applications, believe it or not. So with that, I appreciate those thoughts, Mr. Vice Chair. And Mr. Chicolo, to you, sir.
There's been no motion made as yet, right? I have no further questions.
No, that's what I mean. If you have any comments to the other members of the board.
Nope, all set.
Thank you. Mr. Cuffey?
No questions, Bob.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that being said, do I have a motion on the 6 o'clock p.m. applicant, Kevin Mayo, requesting a special permit under section 8.3.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a non-conforming structure on property located at 6 Gale Ave, Auburn, Mass, map 16, parcel 80.
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to approve with standard conditions.
Second.
Excellent, thank you. So we have a motion to approve and a second. So we'll start with roll call vote. Vice Chair, how do you vote?
I approve as stated.
Mr. Chicolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote? Approve. And I vote to approve. So, Mr. Mayo, you and your applicant are all set. we've attached the standard conditions, which Caleb can go over with you when you get the permit issued to you, just to make sure that we're all in compliance, and Caleb is well suited in that area. So with that being said, sir, good luck. Hope all goes well for you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good night. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
you're welcome. Okay, so as you can see, we need to move on a little bit. We have a couple of other hearings I really want to just kind of dive into. So with that being said, do I have a motion to open the 6:05 p.m. hearing? Applicant Morris A. Bergman, Esquire, requesting a variance under section 3.2.6.3 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a light vehicular and equipment sales use on property located at 16 Montclair Drive, Auburn, Mass, map 35, parcel 36. Is the applicant present?
Yes, the applicant is present.
Excellent. So do I have a motion to open the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Maron, I'll make a motion to open the hearing as stated.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so Mr. Maron, your vote?
I approve.
Mr. Chacolo, your vote? Mr. Chacolo, your vote?
Approve.
Thank you. Tucker, your vote?
Approve.
Jones, your vote? Approve. And I vote to approve. The meeting is, the hearing is thereby open. Mr. Bergman, first of all, allow me to apologize for the delays. You heard we had some combination of technical difficulties in making sure that we had the proper information given in the prior hearing. With that being said, sir, I'm going to yield the floor to you if you'd like to go over your request for application and answer any questions of the board.
I appreciate that. No apology necessary. We're all working under challenging situations, and you guys are doing the best you can, but thank you. This is an application on behalf of the owners, the being Coolies. I know that, Mr. Chairman, you and the members of the board have taken a look at the site. It's a very difficult site, particularly on the left-hand northerly side of the site. There's a large drop-off, so any additional structures on that lot would really not be practical. The drop-off is adjacent to the Massachusetts Turnpike. In addition to the drop-off, this is the unique property because it's the lowest piece of property on that hill of other lots. So drainage would be an issue with any actual further building construction. The Mass Pike poses its own set of problems being so close in proximity. In addition, there may be environmental issues. There certainly is a body of water, some sort of stream running between the property line and where it drops off. So these are all special conditions for the property. I would note, and it's quite peculiar, but I think helpful, that the assessor's card on this property indicates the building use already being auto vehicle sales and service. So I don't know if there's a history of that here or how that came to be, but it is on the assessor's card as having been a use that was previously allowed. My clients, the owners, would like to have 4 spaces to sell used cars. It would be primarily a wholesale business. There would not be very many vehicles coming by the property. It would not require any water or storage use. Relief is allowed under Section 9.5. And there would also be very little disruption as far as the aesthetics of the neighborhood because there are commercial properties across the street and beyond the Massachusetts Turnpike. You should have in your records a letter also from the police department indicating that they've taken a look at the location and don't see any difficulties with the proposed use. So under this special conditions requirement, circumstances of the variance request, this certainly is a very unique piece of property given the topography of it, the proximity of the Mass Pike, and the difficulty in doing anything else with it. So I think a literal interpretation of the zoning laws would deprive the owners of the appropriate and maximum available use of the property. And there's really nothing anybody can do legislatively to fix it. So we're here before you under General Relief Section 9.5 to ask that you grant the variance that's being requested. We certainly would be happy to have the owners next to me to take any questions, and I'll wait your instruction.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So before we get started, just to make sure, do we have any abutters present that may be concerned and want to speak on this matter this evening? If you could just identify yourself before I start talking to members of the board.
Hello, my name is Louis Caraballo, 32 Jade Hill Road. I'm an abutter, but I don't have any concerns. I know Richie as a as a business guy and as a great neighbor, and I look forward to seeing what he can do there.
All right, I appreciate that, but we're not ready to really take that on right now, unfortunately.
I apologize. I got excited. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So we do have some abutters present, but I'm going to go ahead and yield the floor to the Vice Chairman, Mr. Marin. Do you have any questions of the applicant, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple. Could you just give us a direct explanation for what equipment, what you consider light vehicle? What
Sure.
light vehicle are we talking about? What kind of equipment are we talking about?
So with your permission, I'd like to have the owner, who would be the proprietor of that business, describe that. Is that okay? He's right next to me.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's only going to be regular cars. Regular cars.
Okay.
Not going to be any trucks or anything.
Okay.
No heavy equipment, it would be
Right, just regular.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry. What's meant by equipment?
I'm sorry?
What's meant by equipment in addition to the?
I think that's just a description under the proposed use language. Light vehicle is really what we're asking for, but the proper category, as I understood it under the zoning ordinance, is to list it as light vehicle and equipment sales. It's the same category, so it's misleading, and I apologize for that, but the intent is light vehicle.
Okay. No, look, no apology necessary, and I'm not trying to trap. I just didn't know if you had some equipment in mind for it.
It's an excellent question, but the category misled you because I'm just copying the ordinance. I'm not really, I didn't separate it out, but we're talking about light vehicles only.
Fair enough, and I appreciate your response. Just one follow-up question. So this is just sales. We're not talking about any repairs or any exchange or drainage of liquids. So we're just doing straight sales.
So after you've started your sentence, something faded out, and I want to give you an accurate answer. I apologize. Could you repeat the question?
Of course. So succinctly, are we just talking about sales, or will there be any maintenance or any work done on the vehicles?
No, just sales only.
Sales only. Right.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, I'm good for now.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chacolo, you, sir?
Hi. To the applicant, through the chair, is the graphics business still currently working there?
Yes, they are.
So you would have two businesses operating out of this one location?
Right.
The intent would be to use that warehouse where that business, they only lease part of the warehouse. The intent would be to use the other part of the warehouse for any office needs that would be associated with the sales of those cars. It's not fully rented. It's only partially rented. Is that correct?
Yes, half of it, the left side.
But the graphics business currently is open and functioning there?
Yes, it is, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Caleb, if I could, do we have any issue with two businesses operating out of that one location?
Through the chair, if there's going to be two operators, I believe they would need multiple business use. As the bylaw reads, a structure or lot containing two or more principal uses, or a structure or lot containing two or more uses of the same or similar use would require multiple business use.
So the bylaw that this has been filed under would have to be amended.
So my apologies, I was going under the zoning determination, but in fairness to your office, you certainly did know there was another business operating at the time, but I had filed the application based on the zoning determination that was made.
I'm fine with that. Amending the bylaw that you have filed under is not that big a deal to me. If it indeed is just amending the number of the bylaw. Through the chair, Caleb, we can do that excuse me, as we vote tonight, correct? I'm sorry I didn't hear you, Caleb.
Through the chair, if the board so decided to move forward with a vote, I would say, yeah, the application should be amended to include 3263 and 32611.
Okay. Thank you. And one more question of the applicant. There is a chain gated area there. Will you be storing anything in that?
Yes, that's where we're going to store the cars.
That's where you'll be.
Yes.
Okay.
There's the four spots on the plan.
Okay. I also notice a school bus there. You don't store during the day or during the school year school buses, do you?
No, I don't. That was a fellow that needed a place to put it for the snowstorms in the winter. I let him park there, but that's not going to be there regularly.
No problem. Okay, so you will just have the business with Ralph then, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Cussy, are you, sir?
I have no questions, Bob. They're all have been answered.
You, Mr. Jones, to you, sir?
None, thanks.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, I didn't really hear you. Can you say that again, please, sir?
No questions.
Thank you. Okay, so I just have a couple to be clear. It can be either Attorney Bergman or his applicant, whichever is comfortable answering the question. So it looks like, if I can just summarize what you're trying to accomplish here, is you're going to split the building with the current share the space in terms of office and being able to operate your individual businesses, sort of staying out of each other's way, I guess. You're going to go to the auction, grab 3 or 4 cars, try to move them, flip them over, maybe a little tinkling inside there, that kind of stuff. Is that what I'm thinking?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So the reason I asked that question pointedly, I feel like I'm just getting this sense that you're more concerned with getting information for the purpose of trying to tell you no. When I can tell you that the board we don't work that way. We're here to help as much as we can. So I want you to be comfortable answering the questions and don't have any reservations of saying the wrong and have the application denied. We don't work that way. What we really want to be concerned with is that we know full disclosure-wise what type of fluids are going to be in there, what safety measures will be in place in the event something happens. So those are the kind of things we inquire about. I just wanted you to know before we move forward. So, so you're looking at trying to get cars that are as decent as possible. So you might end up doing some, again, detailing, minor paint correction that doesn't involve body work. You know, if you got to do brakes, you're probably going to end up having to do some brakes, or maybe he's going to do some exhaust work. Am I kind of on that right?
Yeah, I think Mr. Bianculli can give you some good insight. I think those questions are pertinent, but this would be an operation that he's going to do with a family member who's basically going to give him the cars after they purchase the cars for him to be able to sell them in a condition where none of that work is really going to take place on the lot. They're going to be in ready-to-go condition. Right. So he's got a family member that's going to kind of prep the cars and sell it to him for a little bit of a profit, kind of the family discount, but leave it up to Mr. Bianculli to do the rest. Is that correct? Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Bianculli, sir, or whoever, are you the current owner of the property?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. So the person that has the sign business, if you will, lettering business, they obviously are currently a tenant with you then.
They're currently a tenant, right?
Oh, yes, they're a tenant. Yep.
So these are all questions I'm sort of gaining some information for the board. I want them to get a better picture of kind of what we're all leaning towards this evening.
Sure.
Also, you know, I know from the past dealing with this property that we've seen 2 or 3 different configurations of basically all that same type of activity in the past. At one point, there was some auto detailing going on, I recall. I do recall the bus being there at some point in the past as well. Not a big deal, never more than, you know, only a few. You know, one thing I agreed with, though, is like, building is one of those particular properties that we have here that is better occupied than not occupied. I feel like that's one of those buildings that, you know, had it been not occupied for a long period of time, could lead to other, you know, people being interested in seeing what's going on in this, right? It can become a problem. I'd much prefer to see these small businesses full. Let's put it that way. So with that being said then, I'm assuming it also is because with the current COVID situation, probably not a lot of lettering going on in that building either, right?
Right, you're right, sir.
Yeah, okay. So that's kind of where I'm at. So now I'm going to go ahead before I go around the horn one more time, and I'm going to ask if we have any abutters present that would like to speak. Sounds like somebody's on a subway train. So what I'm asking here is, I can kind of see what's going on a little bit, but if you are the person directing this from the town television, please feel free, if you have one of those microphones that are giving a lot of feedback or whatever background noise that is, please feel free to go ahead and cut them off and identify which one it's coming from for us, please. I'm not trying to shame anybody.
Through the chair,
who it is.
the background noise is coming from the applicant.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed to know. Okay, so with that being said, we need the applicant to be conscious of the background noise so we can...
Well, our apologies. There is a TV on low volume in a great distance away, but if you're picking that up, we're going to shut it right off. Our apologies. I thought it was way too low for anybody to hear it, so apologies.
That's okay. It's fine. We've been through this every meeting. It just seems that we have to address and adjust as we go. We're fine. But thank you, though. I appreciate it. So with that being said, let's get back on track here. Abutters present. Do we have any abutters present that want to speak?
Hello, my name is Louis Carby. I actually spoke up earlier.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And my sentiment and thoughts still is the same. Great guy, great business guy, great neighbor. And I look forward to see what's develop with what he's going to do there.
Thank you very much. Anything, if you don't have anything else you have like to add, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next person.
No, I'm good, and I apologize for not following the protocol earlier.
No worries. I appreciate that time. Thank you very much.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
We are now getting background noise from somebody labeled JM.
All right, who's JM? So let's isolate him. I don't have a JM on my screen, so you guys see something different than I do.
Through the chair, I went ahead and muted the caller so you can move forward.
Thank you. Okay, so, doors. Yeah, nobody else wants to speak, so Vice Chair Maron, do you have any other more?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I paused because I didn't know if somebody else was trying to jump in. Given that this is an application for a variance, my only final comments would be that, and given that we have strict criteria to walk through to achieve a variance, I would just offer that to the other board members. I think that in viewing this lot, the topology certainly lends itself to be a very unique lot. Challenging is likely a better word. And I appreciate earlier comments that this is definitely a piece of property that's in town. We appreciate someone conducting business given the layout. So I don't think that it is steep climb, to open the door with the uniqueness of the lot and the way it's laid out. But I just wanted to open it up, given that it is a variance application.
I appreciate that. It's good to keep us focused. It seems like we have evening, so I appreciate that. All right, is there anything else you want to add, sir?
There is not. As I said, I don't have any concerns with stepping through the elements of the variance, but just thought we would come back to that point. But thank you, sir. No additional questions for the applicant.
Thank you. So, I'm actually was going to be, yield the floor to our resident expert in the lead of variances, and go with Mr. Chicolo, sir.
Yes,
so if you want to go ahead, your standard usual process of the zone of the variance, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I agree wholeheartedly with the description Mr. Bergman has given and Mr. Marin. There is no doubt that there is a uniqueness in topology, which you'll recall, I'm sure from past, that I use that as opening the door. There is no detriment to the town. There is no monetary gain. That is the reason for this. The topology would be the reasoning behind that. And again, there is no detriment to the town. No additional pressure put on town services or education in the town. I wholeheartedly agree with the fact that this is a better business occupied.
I agree. Okay, I appreciate that. Anything else you want to add, sir?
Were you talking to me, Bob?
Yep, I was just trying to close up with you.
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cuffey, to you, sir.
Yeah, to the applicant, is there going to be any new signage?
Any new signs?
Yes, there's going to be a small sign, I'll be yours.
Yeah, he's indicating he put up a small sign just on the fence, just so somebody would know where they're at. It have his initials and it would say auto sales on it.
Small sign.
Were you able to hear us? I'm sorry.
I've heard what their response was. Yes, in case you didn't, they mentioned that they would likely be requesting signage. It'll probably be something on the smaller side.
And it'll be on the fence.
Right.
Okay, I'm good, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, to you, sir?
No questions.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't really have questions as much as I have some, I guess, comments before we move to close the hearing and move to the next step. I think, again, as a few of us had already mentioned, that this building is better suited when it's occupied by people because, you know, it gets upkeep, it gets all the other attention. You know, buildings that don't remain occupied don't do well in general. So with that being said, the one thing I would like to request is we don't care about the size of the signage. When you have to apply for your sign permit, you'll be coming back before us again anyway for that. Personally, I would rather see better signage on that building, possibly even something that's down the hill a little ways with maybe an arrow or some kind of at least very simple and unobtrusive instruction pointing somewhere, and then have both businesses sort of be identified, and not necessarily for the business itself, but more from a public safety standpoint. If, you know, the ambulance is pulling up or the fire department or the police are pulling up, they're aware of kind of what's in that building before they enter. They have at least a picture. So I'd like to see some more information on that building. The other thing I would like to respectfully request, as you know that we've been allowing a lot of development down on that Route 20 corridor, and just kind of after you stiff up the outside a little bit. I'm not talking about paint or anything like that, but, you know, make sure that when you cut and clear back and get rid of all those sumac trees, for instance, like, you got to have enough room for a safety vehicle to get around. You know, God forbid, but if an ambulance had to pull up and back to the back of that building because of somebody falling off the roof, or who knows, whatever, you know, could be anything. You get the idea. So I'd like to see the building sort of open up a little bit.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to make a couple of quick points. Signage would not come before the board unless they were looking for relief from the sign bylaw. And this applicant would need to go in front of the planning board for site plan approval if they were issued the variance.
I get it, and I do appreciate that, and I know wrap up with going to those things, but you get the idea. We're looking to be a good neighbor with you and on the town side, help you out, but we're also asking in exchange, you know, tidy it up, put some nice signs on it, and, you know, get some room around it for emergency access. That's pretty much all I would like to add. As I said, so didn't have any questions, just had some comments. So with that being said, do I have a motion to close the public portion of the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo, Vice Chair Marin, how do you vote?
I approve.
Mr. Chicolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Tuffy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote? Mr. Jones, how do you vote? Approve. Thank you. And I vote to approve. So public portion of the hearing is closed. Do I have a motion on the second occasion of the evening? 605 Esquire, requested variance on the second. If you could read off the added one for me, Caleb.
Through the chair, we'd be looking for a motion to approve variances from section 3.2.6.3 as well as 3.2.6.11 of the Auburn zoning bylaw.
And what we'll be doing is we're going to be taking 2 votes for that. So I just wanted to be clear, we'll be voting for each individual bylaw approval or denial. So with that being said, the additional information that Kayla provided, I will continue with the Auburn zoning bylaw for light vehicular and equipment sales use on property located at 16 Montclair Drive, Auburn, Mass, map 35, parcel 36. Do I have a motion on the 6:05 p.m. application?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, so I'll take the first motion, and I would make a motion to approve with standard conditions, with the caveat that I think that there were some other conditions at the beginning of the description by the applicant. There were some other conditions to be associated with this application.
Second.
Excellent, thank you. So we have a motion to approve in a second, so we're going to do a roll call vote. Vice Chairman Marin, how do you plead? How do you vote?
I approve as stated.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Tuffy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote? I think that was an approval.
You didn't understand what was proposed?
So
what are we voting on?
This is to approve the 6:05 p.m. applicant as stated with conditions listed on Montclair Drive.
Yes, absolutely approved.
Through the chair,
Okay. Yes, sir.
could we just clarify what conditions we're speaking of?
All right, so we have Mr. Marin, do you have conditions you want added?
And thanks for asking the question, Caleb. So there were some conditions that were stated, and perhaps the assumption is that site planning will cover them, but there was that he indirectly stated in his opening brief.
Through the chair, my recommendation would be to make the motion to approve the plan as approved by the Auburn Planning Board.
Mr. Chairman, I would amend my motion as stated by the Building Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Chicolo, what were the conditions that you had concerns with, sir? Just to make sure.
I had no conditions attached to it.
Excellent.
It was that was going to be contained in the second bylaw that we will be voting on.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for your attention to detail. Okay, so with that being said, just to be clear, so that was just to make sure that the amendments were adequately recorded. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start the roll call vote over again. We have a vote to approve for Mr. Marin. We have a second for Mr. Chicolo. So I'm going to go ahead and say, Vice Chair Marin, how do you vote, sir?
I approve.
Mr. Cole, how do you vote, sir?
Approve.
Mr. Cuffey, how do you vote, sir?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote, sir? Approve. And I vote to approve. Attorney Bergman, congratulations, and as well to your client. Good luck with everything.
Well, we want to thank the board for their time and attention.
Excuse me.
The comments have been heard loud and clear, so we'll look
Excuse
forward
me.
to the next step in the process. Thank you.
Hold on 1 second.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
We still need to make a motion on the multiple business use.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. So, oh, God. This has been one heck of a meeting, I'll tell you. Okay, so I apologize. So what's the limits for that section again? Yes.
We would be looking to entertain a motion to approve a variance from section 3.2.6.11 of the Auburn zoning bylaw.
Okay, so with that being said, do I have a motion to approve a second variance on the application that was identified during the hearing? Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, so I'll make a motion to approve section 3.2.6.11 for multiple business use.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, so Vice Chair Marin, how do you vote?
I approve.
Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Cuffey, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote? Approve. And I vote to approve. So I apologize for that. Jumping the gun there, Mr. Bergman. So you are all set, sir, with both variances?
Again, thank you to the board for your time and attention to the matter. It's appreciated.
Ooh, thank you. Okay, so let's clear the decks for a minute here. I apologize again to the people that have been waiting patiently through these previous hearings. But let's get everybody that needs to be out, and then we're going to get down to the 610 in about 30 seconds. So silence your phones. Make sure there's no TVs or any other electronic devices on in the background. And try to do our best here to give everybody the equal opportunity and be clear and concise. Okay, so with that being said, this hearing has been going on officially since the October 21st, 2021 meeting. So it's been continued from 10/21/21, 11/18/21, and 12/16/21. So I have had some questions in regards to the documentation of this hearing. And I want to just say, make sure people understand. The reason why the description does not change, if the applicant does happen to make changes to their plans, is because it's easier for those people concerned with this hearing and this particular application to track it, so they can easily locate it in the future. We aren't trying to hide any information, or nobody is looking to not have it, to provide information publicly. It just makes more sense for people to have an ease of track. So anyway, with that being said, this hearing remains open. It has been open since then, so it's going to be a continuation. So I'm going to call the 6:10 p.m. applicant, Agave Management Incorporated, requesting a special permit under section 3222 and 4351 of the Auburn zoning bylaw to build, again, original wording, 12 townhouses on property located at 262 Central Street, Auburn, map 56, parcel 82, is the applicant present.
Good evening, board members. My name is Jose Guzman, and I'm the architect record on this project. The last time we met, we were proposing duplexes and townhouses. After that meeting, we had a meeting with a resident representative. We met at their home, and we discussed several options, and we come up with a plan. We are now proposing 4 single-family homes and the renovation of the existing home that is there, structure.
And the demolition, I'm sorry, I want to make sure that was clear.
Yes, we're proposing 4 single-family homes, and the renovation of the existing structure that is there, that is vacant.
Okay, I understand now. I thought you said demolition, not renovation. I apologize.
So the main reason we're here is that we're asking for a deferment to the planning board for this and the storm drainage study. Our client has incurred a substantial amount of cost through this process, and that he asked me if I would request this on his behalf. Okay.
Through the chair, if I could jump in here for a minute.
You may, sir.
Thank you. So, the town has received no new plans for the proposal. I would also say that single-family homes would not require a special permit from the zoning board. But to that point, constructing more than one single-family home on one lot is not permitted in the town of Auburn. If the applicant wanted to subdivide the land into 4 separate lots, he would need to go through the A&R process with the planning board. Otherwise, he would need a variance to construct more than one structure, municipal use structure, on one lot. Again, we have received no new plans to date.
Okay. So I appreciate that, the opportunity to take that moment of clarity, so thank you. So what I'm presenting to the board right now, just so we are all clear on the same page, we have had what appears to be at least some communication with the applicant and the abutters who have concluded that we can they would like to consider, again, I'm not speaking on behalf of them, but 4 houses and renovating the one that's on the property. As Caleb has stated, we have a couple of different ways this could be looked at. It could be a variance, which I'm not really sure we can do that. I think that would lead we have discussion about it. It's certainly a possibility. Or they can, I guess what I'm guessing too is they can withdraw the application, come back with a one to divide the lots and then move from there. Is that what I'm hearing, Caleb?
Through the chair, yes. I would say constructing single-family homes, 4 single-family homes, when we started with 12 townhomes would constitute a substantial change. Therefore, the applicant would need to reapply or start his permitting process over because the application's changed significantly. And I don't even know that the applicant would need to come before this board, depending on which route he planned to take.
So what I'd like to also ask then, again, continuing with my fact finding, in your opinion, based on the upcoming schedule, and Ms. Buto, I might need you to just quickly look something up on this, I'm not really sure, but what's the most expeditious path for this applicant? Because I appreciate his efforts in communicating with the abutters, being very generous with his, you get the idea. He's modified his plans 3 times. He's met with the abutters. What's the fastest way we can get this guy to a decision here?
Through the chair, again, the town has received no new plans. So without a plan or definitive plan, it's very difficult to instruct the applicant on how to move forward. If he wants to subdivide the land into 4 lots, then he would need to go before the planning board for an A&R lot. If he wants to put 4 single-family homes on one lot that already has a house on it, he would need variances from the zoning board, so he would need to reapply. My recommendation would be for the applicant to request a withdrawal without prejudice, get his plan together and submit to the town the required submissions. But it's difficult how to advise them when we don't know what their plan is.
Perfect. I completely understand, and that's what I was looking for. So thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to head around the board right now. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to yield to the members of the board that are present right now. We're going to hear from them, and then we'll take it from there. So again, to you, Vice Chairman Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the clarity with the building commissioner. And so I don't have any direct questions for the applicant, but I would state the following. We don't have any new plan. Appreciate the activity that took place between the applicant and the neighbors, but we don't have any new plans. And we don't have any amendments to what's been submitted to this application before us formally. And so we've heard the intent to modify the plans, but there are a couple of different paths, and they need to figure that out, quite frankly. In our lane, this board, I see our job as the following. We can either accept, if it's proposed by the applicant, a recommendation, a request to withdraw at this point, or we can take a vote on what's in front of us. I think those are the two lanes that we find ourselves in this evening. I think we can move through this pretty expeditiously because what was requested last time, I believe, was traffic study and storm drainage. Those have not been produced. We were looking for additional information there. And we were also expecting that we would have a modification to the plans, which we have what the applicant is stating on record, but we don't have actual plans. So I see that we have those two paths before us. And I think at this point, we should turn to the applicant and ask what they wish to do. We can either take a vote, in my view, on what's before us, or we can ask the applicant if he wishes to withdraw.
Okay, I appreciate those sentiments, and I'm going to go ahead and yield the floor to Mr. Chicolo. Sir, your thoughts?
My feeling is the cleanest way for this to be handled from the perspective of the applicant as well as the town is to have his plans drawn up and go before the planning board and have a clean slate, okay? And they may or may not have to come before us, but it would be a clean slate with a specific application tied to specific plans and a specific approval or disapproval, as the case may be, from the planning board. Deny this current application if that needs be, and resubmit an application once there are plans.
Okay, so I appreciate those. I'm going to listen to those for a minute in my head, and then we're going to go on to Mr. Custer. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I think we should take a vote on what's in front of us and then go from there.
Okay, so take a vote on what's in front of us. You mean, so vote on the items that we have before us based on the information that we have in front of us?
Yes.
Could I speak on the comments that were made?
Please, I will give you the opportunity to speak in a second, please.
Yes, I think we should take a vote, Bob.
All right, so you think we should vote on the application as it currently stands?
Yes.
Okay, so I appreciate that. Mr. Jones, your sentiment, sir?
I'm in a tough position here. I'm a lawyer, so I can't really give legal advice to somebody who's not my client. It seems to me that it needs to be withdrawn or we vote.
So are you part of this application, sir?
What's that?
Are you part of this application?
No, but like I don't want to direct the applicant on what to do. It's just, I believe we need to either vote or the applicant needs to withdraw.
Okay, I understand. I appreciate your point of view there. Thank you for clearing that up. So,
and Mr. Chairman, if I might, by my statement that I do believe we should deny what we have in front of us, that also it implies a vote tonight on what is in front of us.
I agree. There's nothing about it that's allowable.
I'm sorry. Could you say that again, Mr. Jones, please?
Yeah, there's nothing about this application that
You're getting cut off. All we got was, there's nothing about this application.
Yeah, it can't pass, be granted.
And why do you say that, sir? You're gonna be a little more clear than that. I appreciate your point of view, but why do you say that? What do you mean?
For the reasons stated by the building commissioner and others, I mean, it just can't be granted.
Bob, could you clarify what Mr. Jones said? Was he in a positive or negative?
So, Mr. Jones' opinion, he's being clear that he doesn't want to advise, he did not want to advise the applicant on which path we should take. Mr. Jones' point of view on question 1 was allow us to either decide the vote or allow the applicant to speak on their behalf and decide for themselves. So he didn't want to cross the line in terms of breaching any public trust issues. So, I would say that this application, as it stands, cannot be voted on because it is incomplete, it's not accurate enough to vote on. That's his legal point of view that he's presenting. Am I correct on that, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
I agree with my assessment that those are the two concerns that he has. So now that those things have been stated, I'm going to go on my appointment here for the record as well and say I tend to agree with Mr. Jones on this. We've had substantial change to the application. The applicant has endured a lot of changes. The butters have worked diligently to make things happen as best as they can see fit. I think we're closing in on a good situation for all parties concerned. I would hate to think that we would misstep and cause this project some ill harm based on a procedural error or whatever. So with that being said, I agree with the other members of the board, but I do concern myself with the idea that this paperwork needs to be cleared up substantially. Plans need to be submitted and reviewed, in order to determine what the best interest of the lot is for the abutters and for everybody else. I think, to me, that's the wise move.
If I might, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I think that that would be putting the cart before the horse, because no plans at this point in time can be submitted unless he has the land to put 4 structures or 54 structures, doesn't matter at this point, because he doesn't have the land configured or subdivided as it's termed. Okay, so there are no plans that would be able to be made for it. There is no downside for the applicant to have us vote on this application that's been ongoing. Okay, there is no downside if we vote on it. At that point, he would be in the same position as getting the lot subdivided and submitting plans for the 4 individual structures that he wants to put on there. It's the same thing. We can't do anything until that, but we have before us, okay, plans for the multiple changes that have been made. There's been no changes made tonight except verbally. Okay, I think we are definitely in a position where we can vote. And again, I would say deny this application that we have in front of us. At that time, the applicant goes forward and gets the land subdivided and brings forth plans.
So I agree with you at the point, except for the extent that if we vote to deny the application tonight, then that applicant, in the event if the lot has to come back to be subdivided or whatever future activity for the project may come back before this board, we negate his ability to do that unless we are acknowledging that he has a substantial change to the plans.
There's no doubt that it's a substantial claim to change it.
Through the chair, if I may.
Definitely.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that everybody's understanding that we're on the same direction. So go ahead, Caleb.
As much as we all like to sit here and talk about this in circles, and Mr. Chacolo believes that there's a substantial change, but we have no way of knowing whether the change is substantial or not because no plans have been submitted. We have no idea what the applicant wishes to do. The board requested a traffic study and a stormwater study on the last plan that he submitted, and those have not been completed. So I would say that the board either needs to vote on the application as it's been submitted, or the applicant legally has the right to request a withdrawal at any point.
Excellent. Okay. So I like the fact that, Caleb, you're able to make that succinct and to the point of where we need to go in terms of the directions of our crossroads here. So if the board is in agreement, I'd like to give the applicant one more time to speak with the understanding of those are the two paths they have before them. So with that being said, if the applicant is still with us, I'm going to go ahead and yield the floor to you. With the information you just heard, what direction would you like to proceed in, sir?
Okay. So the intention is to subdivide the lot into 5 lots. We have subdivided it, and we did not purposely submit drawings because the intention of attending this meeting was to request the deferment of this traffic study and the storm drainage. Ginger recommended that I come before the board and make that request because when I asked her that, she said she couldn't answer. So that was the reason why we don't have any drawings submitted.
Okay, so I think we went roundabout, not under.
Through the chair, I can jump in again if you want.
Sure.
So Ginger is a clerk in our office, and she can't make decisions on behalf of the board, so that's why she directed the applicant to come before the board. The applicant does not need to request relief from what the board's asking for because if you're going to subdivide the land into 5 separate lots, you do not need any approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals. My recommendation would be for the applicant to request a withdrawal without prejudice and move forward with his subdivision, if that's what he likes to do.
In subdividing the lot into 5 lots, we will not need the frontage and on 3 sites and a minimum 1,000 square foot on 2 sites.
Then you would need to submit a new application with variance requests. You cannot accomplish a totally different application on the application you already submitted because that change is substantial. Okay. You would need to request a withdrawal without prejudice and resubmit your application.
Okay, that being the case, then that is my request.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, to the members of the board, we have received a motion to withdraw without prejudice from the applicant. Do I have a motion on the applicant's request?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Where, if the vote is in the affirmative on what you have just stated, where does that leave this current application? Sounds to me as though it's left in limbo.
It's not. It's withdrawn. The application has to be withdrawn without prejudice, meaning we will consider this matter closed. It will not affect the applicant from coming back with a more refined type of plan. The other question is, though, is the board willing to rescind its earlier requests of having a traffic study in water management, given the fact that those conditions, given the fact that those conditions were expressed by the board early on when they were talking about 12 units and tearing down the house and then going to 7 units and renovating the house. Now we're just talking about renovating the house and 6 houses, or 5 houses. 4 houses.
Through the chair. If the applicant requests the withdrawal and the board accepts it, the application is no longer in existence. It's withdrawn. Any conditions that the board asks for go away. The applicant needs to start over because he's made a substantial change to his application. He's going to apply for something totally different.
Correct.
So if he applies for something totally different, the board then has the right to request whatever they want on that new application.
The reason why I was being clear with Mr. Piccolo's understanding is because the original application, as it was explained to me, contained his concern about the lots and his withdrawal. So I was explaining to Mr. Piccolo, those are the things that are being withdrawn without prejudice, should we accept the applicant's request. And therefore, he can move forward by submitting new sets of plans. Those two conditions have been canceled for him. And then the applicant can move forward uninhibited at this point. So is that understood, Mr. Piccolo?
That's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we move forward, can I make a motion that we close the public portion of the hearing?
So I have a motion on the floor to close the public portion of the hearing. Do I have a second? Thank you very much. Vice Chair Maron, how do you vote?
I approve.
Mr. Piccolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Cuffey, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote? And I vote to approve. Public portion of the hearing is closed. So with the plethora of information that we have had the pleasure of hearing this evening, do I have a motion to accept the applicant's request to withdraw? Is there actually a dog going on in this meeting now too? I think this goes down on record as the meeting with the most interruptions that I've ever had. So, anyway, again, if we move forward with this motion, it's very simple. The applicant is going to withdraw without prejudice, and we're going to move forward without any restrictions or concerns from this board, unless future applications require our review again. That's it. Okay, so do I have a motion to accept the applicant's request for withdrawal without prejudice?
Yeah, Rich Cussy, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Cuffey. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. So, with a roll call vote, Vice Chairman Maron, how do you vote, sir?
Approve.
Mr. Chiccolo, how do you vote, sir? Chiccolo, excuse me.
Approve.
Mr. How do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote? Approve. Thank you. And I also vote to approve. So with that being said, sir, your application is officially withdrawn and closed. And you have the right to contact Caleb, submit other plans, and move forward in the other direction. Good luck, sir, with your application. And if we see you with any zoning board issues in the future, we will discuss further that.
Thank you very much, board members. Have a good night.
All right, so you can see we probably had a lot of abutters who were anticipating speaking, but unfortunately we just didn't get to that tonight because of the way this application went. As you had all heard at home, this will now go before the planning board, and if it happens to go back before the zoning board, it will be rescheduled as a different hearing with different requests in a new application. So with that being said, those are the three items I had on the agenda. One thing we have to do. So do I have a motion also to officially close the 6:10 p.m. applicant Base Management Incorporated request for special permit under section 3222-4351 of the Auburn zoning bylaws to build the 12 townhouses on property located at 262 Central Street, Auburn, Mass, map 56, parcel 82, continued from 10/21/21, 11/18/21, and 12/16/21. Do I have a motion to officially close that hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Maron, I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Maron, how do you vote, sir?
I approve.
Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote, sir?
Approve.
Mr. Tuffy, how do you vote, sir?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote, sir? Approve. And, okay, and I vote to approve. So that hearing is now off of our docket space. We don't have any new, business to discuss, so that's a good thing. Our next meeting, please keep in mind, our next meeting, which is a regularly scheduled meeting. This meeting is scheduled as a, courtesy, I guess, if you will, because there was some advertising issues that went on the town side. So, with that being said, we still have another meeting this month, February 17th.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
The office has not received any applications before the deadline for the February 17th meeting, so the next scheduled meeting will be March 17th, 2022.
Okay, so thank you for that update again. So March 17th, 2022 is our next scheduled meeting. We'll have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, Vice Chair Maron, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Tuffy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote? Approve. And I also approve, I vote to adjourn. Good evening, everyone. We'll see you in March.